Olá pessoal, boa noite, tudo bem? No ConFLOSS, na Veia, dessa noite, nós vamos disponibilizar a gravação de um dos Keynote Speakers da PHP Conference de 2024, Juan Carlos Morales. Aqui no descritivo você identifica todas as informações a respeito da palestra. Não deixe de acompanhar o nosso trabalho e lembrando as conferências FLOSS de 2025. Sou DevCon, ConFLOSS e PHP Conference Brasil. Esses três links desses três eventos estão aqui no descritivo do nosso vídeo. Se você tem interesse em ministrar uma palestra, acesse um dos sites e mande a sua proposta de palestra ou também um curso. Se você é uma empresa e quer apoiar o evento, seja com um patrocínio ou algum outro tipo de apoio, entre em contato conosco, comigo, Anderson, ou com o Galvão. Aqui dentro do descritivo, de novo, desse vídeo, você identifica os nossos canais. A melhor maneira de entrar em contato conosco, que é através das nossas contas no LinkedIn. Acompanhe agora a palestra.
Bem-vindo. Você está por aí?
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I do not understand. I cannot speak Portuguese. I wish I could. I hope everyone can understand me. You guys can listen me well,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you, Leonardo Tumarichan. Thank you, Galvão, PHP Conference Brazil. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much for being here with us and dedicating your time and knowledge to speak to our audience. If you wish to share your screen, so we can check if everything is okay.
Okay, let's check it out.
Thank you.
You guys can actually see my screen, my presentation?
Yep. Todo mundo vendo, pessoal? Todo mundo vendo, né? Tá? We are on time. So, Juan, once again, thank you so much. We are so happy to have you here with us. And the microphone is yours. The stage is yours. So please enjoy, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thanks. So let's start. First of all, a disclaimer. I am not like a PHP internals expert. Okay, I am just maybe in the room. I am the word developer for sure, no doubt about it. Seriously, but somehow I found a way to get inside the code and to contribute to PHP. Pretty fast, to be honest, and I translate that way into a roadmap that I wanted to share with everyone. And just in case if I move really fast, because there's a lot to talk about and not too much time, this presentation will be uploaded to my GitHub account. I didn't do it yet because one have to be politically correct, you know, first the conference and then we upload the material, okay? So let's jump into the topic, the PHP contributor roadmap. My name is Juan Carlos Morales. You can call me Juan. I am a software engineer, but I just like what I do. As I said, I am just a normal guy that found a way to contribute to the code of PHP. You can find me on GitHub. You can find me on LinkedIn. You are welcome to send me a request, to send me a message. All good. Yeah, just in case you are looking for me on GitHub, that's how it looks like, my profile, just in case. Let me tell you a little story. And sorry to name another conference, but we are part of the same community. And in 2022, I attended this conference, the International PHP Conference in Berlin. I used to live there actually for 4 years. And if you pay close attention, this one is me, sitting right there, okay? So on this conference, I met these two guys, José Valera Reales and Sebastián Bergman. I had the pleasure and the opportunity to have a little talk with them after their presentations. And I asked them, hey, what is the right way to get inside the code? Like, is there a tutorial about it? Is there a roadmap about it? And they told me, we don't have that. You need to find your own way through the source code. Even though there are books about the PHP code, even though there are open source projects that they try to document this code, it's really difficult to actually provide someone the right track in order to get inside the PHP code. So just take a shot. jump into the pool and let's see what happens with you. And that's exactly what I did. And somehow I created this method, okay, this roadmap that really worked for me, and I wanted to share with you today. So this presentation, as I said, it will give you a better understanding about different ways to contribute to the PHP project, okay? It will provide you online resources to learn about the PHP core. It will provide you instructions in order to build your local setup. First step first, in order to contribute to PHP, you need to properly set up the development environment. And finally, the roadmap that I did in my way, okay? And hopefully it will help you too in order to have this beautiful experience to contribute to the PHP core. So this is how my contributions look like in the PHP GitHub repo. I have 22 already merged pull requests about writing tests to the PHP core, fixing bugs to the PHP core, and finally to write an RFC, a request for comment. I'm going to talk about all of these aspects about contributing to the PHP code in this presentation. So this is a roadmap consisting of 6 steps. And ideally and hopefully you don't have to jump any of these steps. This is how I did it, and each one of the steps depends on the previous one. So this is how the roadmap looks like. And just a little disclaimer, for each one of these steps, you need to keep the documentation on your side. Every single time you walk through this roadmap, you will have to go through the documentation, which I will mention at the end of this presentation, which documentation I am talking about, okay? So I'm sorry if I talk too fast. We don't have much time and there's a lot to talk about. Also, I want to have time for your questions at the end if there are any. So first step is joining the community. Joining the community is definitely the first step, and it's also mandatory, okay, if in the future you want to make like a meaningful change to PHP, like writing an RFC, okay? You need to be part of the community. It will also help you to put yourself into the radar of what is going on in PHP at the moment. What is the community talking about? What features are they discussing? What RFCs are under voting at the moment? Seriously, it will help you a lot. Do not underestimate this step. It's the first step for sure, okay? So how do you get inside the community? Okay, the community is moving, the community related to the PHP internals, okay, is interacting in two ways. The internals mailing list, okay, which is the de facto way to actually interact with the community related to the internals, and the other one is on the GitHub repo. So if you want to join the internals mailing list, go to the PHP official website. You will find the link on the top that says get involved. And right here, if you can see my mouse, there's a link that says mailing list. It will take you to a form. So basically you pick which mailing list would you like to be part of, okay? You have to pick this one that says the internals list. And then at the end of the form, you put your mail right there. You click the subscribe button and voila, you are inside the internals mailing list, okay? And this is how it looks like, at least from my inbox, okay, at Gmail. You will learn a lot about PHP right here on this mailing list. You can also go to this URL, externals.io, which actually gives you like a better look and feel of the internals mailing list. You are not able to write from here, but you are able to actually see all the mails in like a nice and organized way. And as I said, you can also check the issues in the PHP GitHub repo, which we mainly report bugs. I mean, somehow we are learning like what is the best way to interact with the community, and yeah, it has its own dynamic. So keep this too on your radar in order to stay in touch with the community, okay? That was step 1. So step 2, read the contributor information. This information is it's in two places. One is the official website, Again, you go to the Get Involved link, and on the right side, in the table of contents, you will find really useful links that will take you to documentation about how to contribute to PHP, different aspects about contributing to PHP. You can contribute to the PHP code by writing an RFC, writing a test, etc., etc. There's documentation for all of this. Maybe it's not well organized, okay? Could be, at least for me, but it's right there for you. And also, if you go to the README file on the GitHub repo, there's a section talking about contributing, okay? Check these links. They're not really big text, and they're really useful. And according to my understanding, okay, you need to read all this before you jump inside the code, because there's a procedure for everything. Just think that PHP, it's been around for many, many years. Many people is contributing to this project. So the team that is carrying on with the project is doing this in a very structured and very organized way. Okay. So we are moving really fast. That's a good thing, because the intention of this presentation is not to give specific details about this each one of these steps, because they are really easy to follow. Physically, they sound more complicated than what they are. Step 3, it's about setting up your local development environment. This is really easy to do, and the first step to do to take is to fork the PHP repo. You need to create your own version of the PHP repo, because, and I move to the next slide, and this is a pull request of myself, when you work on the PHP core, okay, either by writing a test or by fixing something or by writing an RFC, you will create a pull request from your fork to the PHP official repo. So that is why you need to create your fork. That's the first step. And after you create your fork, you need to clone that fork on your local machine, on your development machine. And in the case of Linux, because, sorry, I don't use Windows or Mac, this example covers Linux only, you need to install the proper packages so you can actually do your development, okay? These are the required packages to code the PHP core, and pay special attention to the last one that's called LCode, okay? This is really, really important in order to write quality and assurance tests, okay? Which is part of the roadmap. And once everything is installed, you execute these commands, make clean, the build conf command, the configure command, and each one of these commands are well documented in the resources I will give you at the end. And they have parameters to do all kinds of things, okay? It's not worth to talk about them in deep, because first of all, I am not an expert, okay? And secondly, they are really well documented. But the steps, they look always the same. You make clean, you build the conf, you execute the conf, and then you build PHP, okay? You compile the source code. By executing, just make. And you can pass this dash J with this endproc parameter in order to use each one of your CPU cores while compiling PHP, which I really recommend you, because it takes a while. It takes a while to compile PHP. And after you compile PHP, the next step I recommend you to do is to execute the test, okay? And again, you can execute the test by just writing make test, or you can use all your CPU cores to execute the test, which I really recommend you. Today, PHP has something around, I don't know, 17,000 tests, so it takes time to execute them if you do not use, I don't know, 4 CPUs or something like that. And then you are all set, okay? And you are ready to code. You have your development environment. And step 4, it's about PHP tests. It's quality and assurance tests, okay? That basically it works exactly the same way as you do in Laravel, for example, when you write PHP unit tests or feature tests. Basically, you are trying to cover certain part of your code, of your functionality with a test. And this Q&A, which I repeat, it means quality and assurance, okay? This is what they try to do. We try to cover certain C code from PHP with a test. I will show you how a test looks like, but there's a website to learn about this, which is qa.php.net. Get inside this page. It's really well documented and structured. There's all kind of documentation about how to write a test, the different aspects of the test, some hacky tricks that you can apply while writing a test. Seriously, take a look at the official documentation about how to write a test. There's also an open source project which is called the PHP Internals book, which is hosted on GitHub. Just write in Google PHP Internals book, and there's also a URL that is phpinternalsbook.com. Okay, this open source book, which is a working project, okay, it's an open source project, has a section about writing PHP tests. Also, as I point in the slide, take a look at it. There's really, really good information on these two places: the official documentation and this open source project. So basically, if you want to cover some code that has not been covered by an actual test, and you want to write a new test in order to cover it, the first thing that you have to do is to execute the test suite of PHP. And you do that with the command, the first command, which I gave you in the step before, in order to execute all the test suite. And after you execute all the tests in PHP, you execute this other command, like lcop. Remember I told you at the beginning, the lcop package is really important? Well, it's important because it will give you a really nice way to see which part of the C code of PHP is covered by tests. And I will show you how it looks like. So this is how it looks like when you execute the test, okay? I don't know if you guys can actually see what it says on the red square box, but it says test failed 0, okay? So it could happen that while you're writing the test, some of them, they fail. So maybe you find something. So it's ethically correct to actually take a look at it and see what the test was doing, because maybe there is a bug. Could be, okay? It didn't happen to me, but it happens once in a while to some people. So the lcop command will give you a file, okay, which will be saved into the same folder where you clone your fork of the PHP repo, okay? And this is how it looks like. It will give you a report about each one of the folders of the PHP code and how much it was covered by tests. And let me tell you something, this report depends on how did you execute the /configure command. Let me move back really quick to show you which command I am talking about. This one, okay? Because basically on this command, you configure PHP, you enable and disable certain extensions, okay? Or certain aspects of PHP, okay? The binary that you will compile will have all these features that you are configuring before compiling. And that affects, okay, which parts of the code are going to be covered by tests, because there are some tests that they are written for certain extensions. And if you didn't build PHP with those extensions enabled, those tests will not be executed. So you will see that the code is not covered, but that's actually a false positive. Okay, so keep that in mind. And let me share with you how a contribution of a Q&A test looks like. This is actually mine, okay? I wrote a pull request because I did all the steps I told you before, and I found there was a piece of code that was not tested, okay? So I wrote the pull request, I explained everything in the pull request, and I attached in the pull request some images from the make lcop command showing, the maintainer, which part of the code was not covered by a test. And I wanted to write a test to cover that little piece of code, okay? And this is the first time you will deal with PHP C code, okay? That's why it's really important not to jump the steps. And writing tests for PHP, it's a really, really useful way to actually understand what the C code means like. Because believe me, PHP C code doesn't look like C at all. Seriously, it looks like a meta language on top of C. because they created so many macros and functions, and then you see things like this, like that says PHP underscore function. This is not compatible with the C programming language. It's a macro, okay? And sometimes they created macros of macros, and sometimes it's really hard to follow. But if you abstract your way of thinking, and you just abstract the way that you see the code, what you will see is that, okay, there's a start declaration right here related to a function name, PCNTL underscore signal. And if you go to the official documentation, you will see that there's a function with exactly the same name. And then there is some variables right here, which I don't know what are they doing. I can read some parse parameters. So basically I am parsing parameters that I am passing to this function, okay? And suddenly, if one of these parameters, you can see right here, signal, okay, which is signal number, is like the first parameter, if this first parameter is bigger than, looks like a maximum allowed, we should throw an exception, okay? So we don't go into the deep details of the code that we are reading, but we are trying to write a test in PHP to cover this part of the C code. It will force you to understand the C code in your own way, okay? You will learn how to understand the code in your own way. Then you will go into the details. It works. Believe me, it works. So basically what I did, if you go to the official documentation, yes, there is a function with the same name, and it's expecting these parameters. So it looks like if the first parameter is really big, super big, an exception should be thrown. So I wrote a test for this, and this is how a test looks like. It's really easy to follow. It has a test section at the top, which basically it's a description of what the test is doing. There is an extension section which you can enable extensions, you know, specifically for this test. There is a file section which you actually write PHP, a PHP script that is able to cover certain C code that is not being covered yet, okay? And then there's the expectation section, which is what we expect to receive, the output that we expect, or if we are expecting an exception to be thrown, you declare that right here on this section. And if you take a look at this, I am executing the PCNTL signal with the first parameter with a huge number, okay? And after I execute this test, the test was covered, okay? And one little hint right here, this test looks like this still today. I checked it yesterday. You can enhance this. So that's why I gave you this little phase, so you can make your first contribution today. After we finish this talk, you can just jump in, follow this roadmap, change this, and make your first contribution today. I guarantee you. Just there's something here that could be enhanced. I couldn't do it those days, but now it could be enhanced, and it should be enhanced. And if you don't do it, I will at the end of the day. Okay. So, éxitos. Parabéns. The code was covered by a test. So, in your pull request, include all the information possible, especially this before and after, you know, code coverage things, so the reviewers can actually see which part of the code was covered by you. They will do their own test, believe me, okay? And as I said before, it will force you to see the code and to read the C code in your own way, okay? And I also recommend you to take this little tutorial on YouTube. If you just write Samik a year, writing PHP tests or something like that, YouTube will give it to you. It's not up to date, okay? But it's covering a lot of good aspects about how to write PHP tests, okay? So, as I said before, just don't jump this step. Step number 4 for me is like it was the most important one. Just follow the roadmap, okay? This is all text that you can read later on if you want to download my presentation. So, you're going to write a test. I give you a little hint on the steps before, and also There's still things to be covered today. Believe me, this screenshot is from yesterday. Take a look at this function. It's really easy to write tests for it. I took a look at it yesterday, but I wanted to give it to you guys so you can actually work on it and do your own experiment on writing Q&A tests. So what could happen while writing tests for uncovered code? What could happen? I mean, there's a piece of code that was never tested before. No one knows about it, okay? So let's move to the next step, fixing a bug, okay? And yes, while writing tests for code that is not been covered before, could be there's a really big chance that like it happened to me, that you found a bug, okay? And that's exactly what happened to me. This is how my contributions look like. This is part of the history. I was writing Q&A tests day by day, exploring the source code, etc., 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 etc. And suddenly, my intention was to write a Q&A test. I found the bug. And I will not go into the details of the bug per se, because that's not important, but take a look at the pull request. There's only 37, okay, lines of code that I had to add in a C file, and then I had to write a lot of tests in order to cover this pull request. That is why learning to know how to write tests is really important, okay? Because it will help you to move on the roadmap, okay? Trust on me, even if you don't know me, trust on me, do not skip any of the steps of this roadmap. So as I said before, there's a little bit of C and many tests, okay? Tests were more important than actually the code that I wrote on the C core. And I also want to highlight that the community is really expecting on what you're doing, and they really help you out, okay, by providing you comments on your pull requests. Even if you don't know exactly if your C code is looking fine, if it's optimized or whatever, they will provide you really good hints. They are really supported, and they are really appreciating people writing Q&A tests and fixing bugs. So where can you look for bugs? Either you find it by lucky like me, or you can check this website. It's really old. It's actually the first bug dashboard that was ever used in the PHP project, which is bugs.php.net. You will find a lot of old bugs. And the new ones are reported on the issue section of the PHP GitHub repo. You can find them. You can try to replicate them. It's really hard sometimes to replicate a bug locally, but you will find a lot of bugs that they will reported by the community. And last but not least, the last step. How much time do I have left? Do I have like 15 minutes or 20?
Hi, Juan. You have plenty of time. You have like 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're
so
welcome.
The last step is to deep dive into the PHP internals. And this is really challenging, okay? And either you can do it by writing your own RFC, okay, or by writing an extension. Either way, you will have to deal with internals, and you will need the documentation that is on the blue square right here on your side. It's not easy, believe me. There's all kind of code in the PHP core. So let's talk about writing RFC, okay, which means request for change, okay? An RFC is ideally with a pull request showing, okay, how to implement that idea, how to implement that change that you are suggesting to the community to put inside PHP, okay? And in order to write an RFC and to move it on, there is a formal and structured procedure to do that. And guess what? The first step is joining the community, because you need to communicate your idea to the community. So that was step number 1. In order to move on with step number 6, you need to know the previous one. There's no way to jump on this, okay? They will not accept your change if you don't follow the rules, okay? So if you go to this URL, wiki.php.net/RFC, you will see all the RFCs that are going on PHP. You will see the ones that are under voting phase, the ones that are under discussion, the ones that were accepted, on which PHP version they were merged. If you go inside one, okay, you will see the pull request related to this PHP, so you can actually see what the change was about, nice documentation about it, and how they code it. So this is a really valuable learning resource, okay, because you have the documentation of the pull request, and you have the code and you have the explanation. Excellent. And believe me, and this is the procedure in order to create an RFC. Okay, if you go to this URL, the same one as the previous one, /how-to, you will have this procedure I was talking about, and you will see that I was not lying. You have to be part of the community first. Okay. What I wanted to say regarding RFCs is that they don't have to be complex at all. RFCs is about something new in PHP, or something that was already there and now it's a little bit different. It's about a change to an existing feature of PHP. Okay. For example, take a look at this one. Oh, that was merged on PHP 8.4. What the RFC title says is increasing the default decrypt cost. Okay. And there's an introduction, a lot of explanation, a lot of documentation. Then later on, you check it yourself, and you will see that the RFC is quite long. Okay, take a look at the implementation. And you can see right here, there's a section that says implementation, and there's a link that will take you directly to the code. Okay, and then if you take a look into the code, this is the change all about. They change the number. Before it was a 10, now it's a 12. That's it. That's it. That was the change about. Okay, and it's also, guess what, covered by tests. Tests will be there always, and they have to. Okay, it's mandatory. It's part of being a good software engineer. Okay, tests what we do. So take a look at that. It's not that complicated, huh? Someone realized that something was not being updated since PHP 5.5, and it was accepted. Nice. So don't think that to write an RFC you need to do something really, really complicated. No, just pay attention. Stay up with the community. Stay in touch. Ideas will come. Believe me, it's part of the process. It takes a while. You need to be patient, but it will happen somehow, earlier or later. So, and the other aspect of step number 6 is to write your own extension, and this is really challenging. This is really challenging if you want to write something meaningful. Okay, I am not talking about the hello world extension. I am talking about that you really have a truly necessary need, that there's no way to actually do it by other than writing your own extension, and it will be challenging. Okay, but today is way better than before because there's a lot of documentation and examples on GitHub about how to write a PHP native extension. Okay, and most of them are written in C. Okay, but it's also possible to use another programming languages like C++, Rust, Go, C, etc., etc. There are a lot of examples out there. I took a look this week about different examples, and there's a lot out there. Believe me. Reasons to write an extension can vary. There are too many. It depends on your requirements and necessity. There's also a repository where you can check for the already existing PHP extensions on this URL, tackle.php.net. If you get inside this website, you can browse the different native extensions that are known and well reported by the community. Okay, there are many that they do all kind of different things, so you can check them. It's worth to take a look at it. And resources to write extensions. Maybe you guys never hear about it, but there is a programming language called Zephyr, specially designed to write PHP extensions in a really nice way and with a really friendly and nice syntax. Believe me, take a look at this programming language. It's worth to take a look at it, to play a little bit with it. I did it, and this is how it looks like. Maybe, I don't know if you guys can see, but on the left side, this is how the Zephyr code looks like. It looks like PHP, actually. okay? And if you want to do a hello world in Zephyr, you do it like this. You create a class that is called hello and it has a method, which is called say, and you print something on the standard output. If you want to do exactly the same thing with C, this is how you need to do it. So, quite a difference, huh? Believe me, just imagine that you are doing something meaningful. All the C code that you will have to write. It has some bugs, this Zephyr language, but it's pretty stable. I mean, give it a shot. Yeah, another example. And there's another library in this case that will allow you to write PHP extensions in C++. There's a lot of documentations regarding this library. There's a lot of videos on YouTube from another conferences that they were talking about this extension. Okay, it's well tested. Some really production-ready extensions were created with this extension. It's called PHP-CPP. Take a look at it. I am not an expert. I never used it before, but it's worth to mention it because a lot of people is using it because it makes the work of creating extensions way easier and understandable. And remember the blue square box on the roadmap? Well, I really suggest you take a look at this documentation, take a look at these resources, especially the first two ones. As it previously mentioned you before, there's an open project called PHP Internals book. Really cool, really good information, kind of up-to-date information, okay? Take a look at it. It's worth the reading. And there's also a book, an old book, which is called Extending and Embedding PHP by Sarah Golemon. I know that some of you don't know who Sarah Golemon is. I take out my hat and I put it again. She's the best. Even though the book it's oriented to PHP 5, 5.6 or 5.4, she goes really deep on PHP. So 80% of the content of this book is still alive today. Okay, take a look at this book. You can find it on Amazon, or you can buy the EPUB version of it. Worth the effort. And then there's the official documentation. The blog of Nikita Popov is really cool. Also, there are nice articles about how to manipulate PHP in certain ways. Use AI tools. Don't feel shame about it. They tend to stay forever, and they will not go anyway. We are here to provide you another way to work with software development. I gave it a shot on ChatGPT, for example. I asked ChatGPT things about the PHP core, and believe me, ChatGPT knows about the PHP source code, and it knows it really good, really good. Knows everything about PHP core. Amazing. Yeah, a couple of videos on YouTube, which I really suggest you to take a look at it. There's a guy also from Brazil, which is called Gabriel Caruso. I don't know if you guys know about him, but he created a lot of material on the internet about contributing to the PHP core. I learned a lot from his slides and his videos. And that's it. That's the way I did it. And believe me, in this room, I am the worst developer, for sure. I have no doubts about it. But I did it. I found a way that worked for me, and maybe it worked for you. So my intention is to hopefully give you something that I was needing, and no one was able to give it to me, and I had to find it my own way. And I wanted to share it with you, and hopefully some of you will be able to contribute to PHP in order to make PHP bigger than what it is, okay? Be grateful with the community, be supportive with the community. It doesn't matter if the change is big or small, or revolutionary, or just something that just passes by. Always clap and cheer whoever is contributing to PHP, because remember that whoever is contributing to PHP is putting his free time to work on the programming language that you use for work and that you use to earn money, okay? And last but not least, if you can, and whenever you can, donate to the PHP Foundation. This is really useful, guys. This is really useful. It doesn't matter if you contribute with $1. It's always welcome. I am not part of the foundation, but I understand why it was created. and it was created because it was needed, and the foundation needs from everyone. Okay, so that was it. That was me speaking a really bad English. Okay, and I really hope that you take something from all this presentation. You are always welcome to contact me. If I can help you with something, I will. Yeah, I talked a lot. I need to drink a matter right now because my throat is like hurting. Thank you very much. And if you guys have questions, I am really glad to listen to them.
Thank you so much, Juan. I guess we have a question here. Diga, Ricardo.
Good morning, everyone. Juan, congratulations. Excellent talk. Do you know if there is any extension for VS Code to help in the create of extensions?
Honestly, my friend, I don't use one. Somehow, VS Code really understands the meta C language of the PHP core, and you are able to highlight and to control click a macro or a function, and it will take you to the macro function declaration. But I don't use an extension. Sorry, it doesn't mean that there's no extension out there. Okay, or maybe it's a really good chance to write one. There isn't any.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, my friend.
Pessoal, mais perguntas? Aproveitem aí que temos uns minutos ainda. Alguém quer tirar mais alguma dúvida? Fazer um comentário?
I hope you guys understood what I said.
We did. Your English is probably way better than my Spanish. So, but it was very clear, and I'm so happy that you brought this content to PHP conference. I believe more people should be talking about this. You know, about how to help, how to participate more in PHP.
Totally.
Yeah. The roadmap is gold. Yeah.
I will upload it, Leonardo. I will upload it to my GitHub account, or if you guys wanna share it in your networks, I will send it to you. And I will send it to the contact I have on my mailing list, so you guys can do whatever you want with it.
Awesome. Did you put the link here to your?
It's not public yet. It's not public yet. I didn't upload it in any place yet, but I will.
Okay. Let me know later, and we will make it public. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Juan, once again, thank you so much, and I hope to meet you in person soon. And that's it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your attention and for inviting me. It was
Thank you.
Seriously. Thank you.
Pessoal,